Mr. Moghalu unsettles Tinubu and co on why Nigeria is poor. So guys, former CBN governor in the person of Mr. Moghalu has finished Nigerian politicians. I mean, Nigerian politicians have gone silent. He said why Nigeria is broke, why Nigeria is failing, is because we've got jobless people in places of leadership. We have people who have never run any enterprise before in senior places of leadership, and that has contributed to the downfall of Nigeria as a country.
The reason Nigeria is broken today is because we have made politics our number one job and we have forgotten governance.
These people, they've run Nigeria down. The country is broke. And in case you don't know, the Tinubu's administration has come out to say they are not going to celebrate their 1 year in office heavily. It's going to be a low-key celebration, just because they know they've achieved nothing. So guys, I'm going to let you watch this video. Take your time, relax, take a cup of coffee and listen to what Mr. Moghalu spew out here. I mean, Tinubu and co, they will be uncomfortable with all these things. Take a look.
The reason Nigeria is broken today is because we have made politics our number one job and we have forgotten governance. But if you run for election to any office, as president or as governor or as anything, the reason you are elected is to govern. The politics is simply the vehicle in a democracy to get to the authority with which you need to govern. But the purpose for which you were elected is to make life better for the average man and woman. And let's not forget that. But Nigerian politicians have as a general rule, there are exceptions, but Nigerian politicians have forgotten that the reason they're in politics is to develop human capital in this country. And so our politics has become all about the politicians. When it comes to economics and investment, public governance matters because it is the necessary foundation for wealth creation. Competent governance will assemble the team. Competent governance will make economic policies. Competent governance will create the right environment in which economic transformation and investment can take place. Governance, governance, governance. If you must be a politician, if you must, my advice to you is that the best politics is good governance. Good governance is the best politics because that's what delivers the purpose. And that is the benefit of a large mass of the citizens. There is an intent here to promote investment in Rivers State. And so it's necessary for me to say a few words about foreign investment and to warn that it is not a magic wand. It is not. If you think it is a magic wand, look at all the oil companies in the Niger Delta, which have been foreign investing for the past 60-something years. Look at the poverty in the creeks. Look at the environmental degradation. Foreign investment does not deliver the results if you do not know how to go about it. It calls for a certain strategy. I began by talking about strategy. Without it, you cannot be successful. So foreign investment helped China. It helped Singapore, and we hope it will help Rivers State. But it helped China and Singapore to develop, but it has not brought prosperity to Africa. Instead, it has in many cases deepened poverty, as I said, and environmental degradation. Even as a measure of confidence in a national economy, FDI, foreign direct investment, has declined precipitously in Nigeria over the past decade. This is because the competence to drive a foreign direct investment strategy is absent. Even more important, the foundation of good governance does not exist. Investors are not fools. Their money works to make a return on investment in stable and well-governed environments. They are not in business to fuel the dreams, the promises, or the egos of politicians in power. That is not why serious businessmen are in business. So if you are seeking to attract foreign investment, it is important to proceed from this foundation going forward so that you have more of a chance of attracting the kind of investment that will actually drive the transformation of your state or your country. And so I say to you, Your Excellency, and to all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen here, that foreign direct investment will help to drive development only when two location factors, quote unquote, location factors we call them, are present. The first location factor is skilled human capital. That's factor number one. The second location factor is infrastructure. And in that context, I want to congratulate Governor Fubara on the kickoff of the construction of the Trans-Kalabari Highway. These two things are necessary. Skilled human capital, because the kind of foreign investment you need is not just people to come and extract natural resources. You need the skilled labor that can help to add value to whatever is extracted or whatever is farmed and produced. There must be value addition. And value addition across a wide range of industries, which is what diversifies an economy away from natural resources, requires skilled labor, requires skilled human capital. So perhaps, along with infrastructure, the first part of the investment strategy should be to bring investors that can create those skills in Rivers State, across the board. Maritime, fish farming, there can be massive fish farms on the sea and on water, but it takes a certain type of skill. And these are advantages that rivers have. If you go to Rwanda today, you will weep for Nigeria. Everybody is going to Rwanda. 30 years ago, I was a political affairs officer for Rwanda at the United Nations headquarters in New York, working with Kofi Annan during the genocide. We fought to stop the genocide. Late night meetings in the Security Council. Rwanda was known for horror, death. 1 million people killed in 3 months. Today, you go to Rwanda, you're scratching your head. Everybody is going there. All the investors are going there. Qatar Airways has just invested $1.2 billion, taking a 60% stake in a national airport that is being built in Rwanda. When that airport is completed in 2018, it will change the entire aviation map of East and Southern Africa. Futuristic thinking. Total Energy was supposed to give Nigeria $6 billion in investment. That investment, from reports I have read, has gone to Angola. So I would recommend a massive shift to investments in skilled human capital, especially to support manufacturing and service economies and diversify away from oil and more towards gas as a transition out of the natural resource conundrum. But natural gas is a must, because when we talk about transition, it's cleaner than oil and it is necessary for our situation at this time. We're talking about compressed natural gas for use, which is much cheaper. So Rivers State has huge opportunities to be part of the value chain. One professor in America said that globalization is like a bullet train, but it cannot stop stop in your country if you don't have a train station. What is the train station? Value chains. You have to be able to add value to parts of complete products. You see a big Toyota car, you say it was manufactured in Japan. Now lie. About 15,000 parts in a Toyota vehicle, and most of it is manufactured in places that are not Japan. It is put together finally in Japan, but every part of that value chain has made money. This is where our country, River State, should aspire to be part of that global value chain that creates wealth through international trade. And I can see that the determination to do that is there. Now, the governor, the truth of the matter, as I was saying, is that the investment environment in Nigeria is fundamentally and extremely weak. We hope that River State will be an exception. But the truth is that our oil industry serves the interests of vested interests. It lacks transparency, starting with NNPC. This is one of the reasons why oil majors are divesting, because the challenge of investing in the sector in Nigeria, which is a classic gatekeeper state, is too high for many investors. And there are other opportunities waiting for them. So foreign investment is not about traveling all over the world and saying, I'm looking for foreign investors. If, as Governor Fubara has set out his vision to do, you create the necessary conditions, the investors will come looking for you. You don't even have to look for them. They will look for you because capital has only one goal, and that is to make a profit. So wherever it sees the potential for that profit, it will go there. So all you have to do is simply to create the environment through the necessary policies, competence governance, the bright business environment, capital will come. When you have a strategy, you can say that our goal in River State is to expand the manufacturing sector. Our goal is to build the skilled human capital that will drive that. Our goal is to expand natural gas. So you can actually direct the flow of foreign investment to serve the strategic purpose that has been set out in the strategy that River State has developed. Not just welcoming everybody who says they're coming to invest. You know what you want, and you are directing that process, and you will get what you want. So, this is why the Africa Private Sector Summit, which I happen to have the honor to be the chair of the board of directors and the advisory board. It's a continental organization of the private sector that is driving one agenda, and that is what we call a charter on the private sector Bill of Rights, with 24 rights for businesses, that if any government creates those rights for businesses, there is no way that wealth transformation will not occur. So we are hoping that at the next summit of the African Union in February, African leaders will adopt this charter on the private sector Bill of Rights. So we must stop paying lip service to an enabling environment for business and get on with actually dismantling all barriers to doing business. This cannot happen without competent governance. And I was so pleased to hear the governor say about the removal of multiple taxations. Very, very critical. One of the biggest obstacles. People being taxed left, right, and center. Finally, let me say a word on sustainability and host communities of the oil industry. We're in River State. So what we have to do is to be like Norway. like Singapore or like the Gulf states, to use what we have to get to where we need to be. Because one day those natural resources will dry up. They're not here forever. But we can make use of them to achieve what we call in economics, economic complexity. The manufacture of complex products competitively with skill and value added to them. So, sustainability and host communities of the oil industry. Let me say that so long as the oil industry works for special interests and not for the masses, and the environment in our host communities are continually destroyed, so long will we be afflicted with the resource curse, and Nigeria cannot enter the Norway tragedy. The NNPC needs to be privatized. The NNPC needs to be privatized, with a stake sold to host communities. The host communities must be one of the owners. It should not be privatized to just people who have money. But the stake that will be sold to the host communities, how will it be managed? That is where governance comes in. We have to set up the structures, transparencies, to make sure that their interests are protected. Stringent, transparent governance will protect the people of the Niger Delta and enable them to become part of what God has given them, to be part of a path to wealth and not a curse, as has been the case for far too long. I wish River State success in the years ahead. And I believe that with determination, with effective governance, with strategy, with competent governance, River State can get on the path to Norway. Because I can see clearly that he is ahead of the curve. Some of the respectful, well-intentioned advice and the occasional critique have become unnecessary from listening to some of the things he said. But I want to speak this afternoon on the subject, can River State emerge? Governance, investment, and economic strategy. I came into the country this morning from Washington, D.C., where my global strategy consultant is based. I left Washington, D.C. 2 nights ago, came into London yesterday. I arrived this morning in Abuja and caught the first flight to Port Harcourt, because this is truly an event after my heart. And as a Nigerian patriot, it is always an honor and privilege for me to support leaders who demonstrate seriousness, who demonstrate purpose, who demonstrate a vision, and who demonstrate commitment to the reason they have been called to serve, and which is to improve the standard of living of the citizens of our great country. So the first question I want to ask is this: when we say rivers emerge, we have to ask and answer the question, emerge from what? And where? And to what? What is the vision for River State? This is the necessary foundation for any real emergence. There must be a clear answer to this question, because it is what will shape the journey ahead for this great state. So the intention is there, the commitment is there, I think we can see it. But as a strategy consultant, I have to say that the vision, the Bible said, I think it was to Habakkuk, write down the vision, write it on stone. So the vision has to be clearly articulated, and then there has to be a strategy execution map to back up that vision over a clear number of years with steps that will be measured in terms of performance. That is my first recommendation, even before I begin my remarks. Now, Rivers State, as the governor said, has the second largest economy in Nigeria after Lagos. He reminded us that Rivers State has over 40% of Nigeria's oil production, 100% of its natural gas exports. The GDP is $28 billion. The state has 7.5 million people. I want to situate Rivers State in the world because the bigger our vision, the greater our chance of success. If we do not make it to the sky, we will at least land on the roof. So, let me situate Rivers in a global context. Once upon a present time, there is a country named Norway. Norway is a Scandinavian country that has 5.7 million people. Rivers State has 7.5. So there's a lot of similarity. There are some parallels. And when I say parallels, I mean there are similarities, but there are also differences between Rivers State of Nigeria and Norway. For one, Rivers is a state in a country. Norway is a full country in itself. So we must also have that context. But Norway is a very wealthy country. Its GDP in 2023 was $580 billion. So even though Rivers is at 28 billion, the transformation gap is very clear in front of us. The GDP per capita of Norway is $92,000, the average income when the GDP is divided among the citizens, $92,000 per capita, per citizen. Norway is the second country on the UNDP's Human Capital Index out of about 180 countries, while Nigeria is 162nd. But Norway is number 2. Norway has the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, which has $1.6 trillion in assets under management. And that sovereign wealth fund holds 1.5% of all the equity of the listed companies in the whole world. This is the Norway Government Pension Fund Global. It also has investments in real estate and fixed income. Norway invests most of its resource earnings and has successfully diversified its economy away from oil. Norway is wealthy, but it's not because it has oil. After all, Switzerland, Japan, South Korea, they're also very wealthy countries. They have no oil. Not one natural resource is found in these countries. They are some of the wealthiest countries in the world. I make this point because it is very important for us to understand in our country that natural resources are not what make any country wealthy. If it were so, many countries in Africa would be very wealthy. Instead, they are poor, conflict-ridden. The reason is because when you have natural resources, there are problems that develop. And if you're not careful, you'll have the resource curse rather than a boom. everybody begins to, the politics of the country, the politics of the state becomes about who will control the natural resource. And so the country becomes what we call a gatekeeper state, because the natural resources are referred to as the gate, and those who can corner it become the gatekeepers. So this can distort the path to development of any country, and that is what Nigeria is going through today, and many other African countries. Africa has 75% of the world's strategic minerals, but only 1% of global manufacture. So Rivers State, in its visioning, I believe, should keep these things in mind. The reason many African countries are poor, even though they have natural resources, is because they are poorly governed. This is the story of Nigeria today. 63 years after independence, Nigeria is still crawling. We haven't even stood up on our feet to start walking, let alone to start running. Compared to a small country like Norway with 5.7 million people, the difference is governance. We often make the mistake of gathering at summits like this, and we talk a lot about economic theory. Without good governance, without competent governance, no country, no state in a country can make it in terms of economic transformation. Governance is key. And so I am very, very encouraged to hear the governor's emphasis on governance beyond politics. Because the reason many, we must think big, we must think large, and if any state in Nigeria has the potential to achieve this kind of big dream, it is Rivers, without question. Thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words. Thank you, Excellency. I wish you success.
Many people have always come out to say that if you have people who have never run businesses before, they've never managed organizations before, and all of a sudden you see them managing senior positions in government, expect that aspect of government not to work. There is no magic. There is no magic. Don't expect it to work. And that is exactly the scenario we are seeing in Nigeria. No doubt, when they get to the House of Assembly, they don't retire. Some of them have been there for years. They don't retire. So guys, we all know that the kind of politics that Nigeria runs is the type that has grounded this country. I mean, this country has been destroyed because of the kind of leaders we have. Selfish people. You can imagine that the Tinubu's administration knew that Nigeria has no money, but they opted for a yacht. They opted for, rebuilding of their presidential residences. They opted for new SUVs. They opted for, presidential jets and all kinds of things that will further, suck Nigeria dry. That is the kind of leaders we have. And that is what Mr. Moghalu is saying. That leadership is not all about being self-centered. They don't have job. They are just there to earn. They are just there to earn, to take their children to abroad, to secure the future of their unborn children and leave Nigerians to waste. That is the level of wickedness we see in the Nigerian leadership style. So guys, I don't know what you make of this video. Let me know what you think Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you.